Okay, and we're back. So you just finished watching the step 2 video on how to fill out a deposit slip and withdrawal slip, and now you moved on to step 3, so let's get right into check writing. So before we start check writing, here's what it looks like. This is the basic layout of a check, and no matter what bank you have, pretty much all checks are similar to each other, so there's no differences between them. Now, where we're going to start is looking at like what do all these things mean on it, okay? And then after that, I'll show you how to fill out one, and then we'll practice a bit. Okay, so if you look at this video right here, I'm going to tell you what each of these means. Now, first of all, I want to make this very clear. Whenever you're filling out a check, you always use a blue or black ink pen. Never use any other color. I'm using a green pen just to show you what each of these things mean. But like I said, when we fill it out, you'll be using a black pen, or I'll be using a black pen anyway. Okay, so what do all these things mean on this check? All right, so some of them are easy to figure out, others requires a little bit more. So first of all, right in the top hand corner of a check, this is always going to be the check number. Basically, when you get a checkbook like this, it has a bunch of checks. It literally is a book, and each of those checks, as you can see on mine right there, they have a number. So this says 238, and then if I flip to the next check, then it says 239. It's just a way for you to keep track of your checks so that if you ever have to dispute something or you're looking up an old bill, you could say, oh, that was check number 25 or that was check number 26. Okay? And then you also have the check number written down here at the bottom. And again, it's just for the bank and it's for you to keep records. Now, the date, that's easy. Okay, now, there's two things you could do with the date. You could either write the current date or the date you want the check cashed. Meaning, the bank cannot cash that check or another person can't do it until the date you write on there. So if I was to write today's date on it, that means somebody could take this check that I gave it to, go to the bank, and get the money for it. But if, let's say, I wrote the date June 1st, that means that person would have to wait until June 1st to cash the check. So that's very important because if, let's say, you don't have enough money in your account and you put today's date, even though you meant for it to be cashed on June 1st, and a person cashes it tomorrow, yeah, your bank account is going to be overdrawn. So like I said, you always want to make sure you're putting the date that you're okay with the money being taken out. Now, pay to the order of. This is the payee. So the payee is literally the name of the person or the company that you're going to be writing the check to. In other words, the person you are giving the money to. On this line, okay, in the middle where it says dollars, okay, this is where you're going to write the amount in words, meaning whatever amount you're writing the check for, you actually have to write that amount out in words. I'll show you what I mean in a few minutes. And this box here, this is the amount in numbers. So in other words, if I'm writing a check for $200, I write the numbers 200 in this box, and then I got to spell out the number 200 on this line. Memo, this is what the check is for. So in other words, I would write on that line, if let's say I'm writing this check to a niece and it's for her birthday, I might write for birthday on that line. And again, it's just for record keeping purposes so you know what the check was meant for. And then for authorized signature, this is where you're going to sign the check. Okay? Now, the final two parts, okay? So this number right here. This is what's called the routing number. Now, why does the routing number matter? So the routing number is basically a way to identify your bank. Each bank has their own specific routing number. So the routing number, think of it like a fingerprint for the bank. In other words, if let's say this was a Chase check, this routing number would identify it as a Chase bank. Then this number right here, this is your checking account number. So remember how I showed you my checkbook? Yeah, the reason I didn't show you the full check is because it has my account number on it. So you never want to show somebody your account number, because if they get that, congratulations, they can now find ways to withdraw money from your bank account. Okay? So that gives you the layout of a check, and now I'm going to show you how to fill it out. So let's get a new check. There we go. And I've taken a black pen because, again, I can only use blue or black ink. Okay, so let's look at our scenario. So, Faith Marcus decided to finally take Mr. Mullen's advice and open savings and checking accounts. Years later, Faith graduated from college and joined a women's basketball league in Turkey. Now she has returned home and is living in her apartment at 42 Hawthorne Street, Apartment 12, Brooklyn, New York, 11225. Her rent is currently $1,825 per month and is due by June 1st. Checks are payable to the landlord, Scott Pippen. So now, what's the information we need for the check in this scenario? So let me highlight the information that's important, and then we could get out the information that doesn't matter. Okay, so her name, that matters, okay? Since we're paying a rent check, the address is going to matter, and I'll show you why. This is just a little trick to make sure that the check gets deposited exactly where it's supposed to go. We also need to know how much she's spending in rent. We need to know the due date, June 1st, and we need to know who the check is payable to. So in this case, you make the check out to the landlord, Scott Pippen. So now, how does this translate to our check? Okay, so her rent is due by June 1st, and Faith will not have the money until June 1st, so she wants to make sure that the check is cashed on June 1st. So what she's going to do is she's going to write 06/01/2020. Write the full 2020 out, because I read something where if you just write the 20, it allows somebody to change some of the numbers, so they recommend writing the full date out. That way nobody can change the numbers. You could also write it this way: June 1st, 2020. Either way matters. It's perfectly fine. Now, pay to the order of. So the landlord is who we have to make the check out to. So we're going to write Scott Pippen on that line. And then her rent is $1,825. So we're going to write $1,825.00. Okay. Again, make sure you put the cents there, because you don't want somebody adding additional numbers to it. And now we have to write this number out on this line. So we're going to write 1,825, and now we have to indicate the cents. So we're going to write 00 over 100, and then we are going to draw a line from here to the word dollars. The reason we do that is because, again, it doesn't allow anybody to write in additional numbers when the check gets cashed. So it's a way to close it out. Now, what is this for? Memo. It's for June rent. And then we'll sign Faith. Sorry if this is messy signature. We'll sign Faith's name. Now, this is something I suggest if you're writing a rent check, because again, people have similar names to each other, and you want to make sure that at the end of the day that it's not so much about your name, it's more about the apartment in this case. So what I suggest you do, and this is what my landlord actually told me to do, is on the check, I would write your address, so 42 Hawthorne Street, apartment 12, Brooklyn, New York, 11225. Again, the reason why I say to do that is because I just realized that I wrote this in green pen, and that's very bad. It should have been in black pen. Sorry about that. Just know, guys, it should be written in black pen. I will make sure I correct it next example I give you. But again, the reason that you should write the address here is because it makes sure when the landlord gets this check that the landlord is depositing the money for the right apartment. Okay, so that's just a little trick. And I highly recommend putting the address for rent checks in particular. If this, let's say, was a gas bill or electric bill, it's not so much your apartment number that matters, it's actually the account number that matters. So it's always good to put your account number, not your bank account number, but the account that you have with that organization on that in that area too. Okay, so that is how you fill out a check. And remember, black or blue ink. Sorry about that. Now, before I close this video out, I want you to practice on your own. So what you're going to do is you're going to visit this website in the next section, and literally all you're going to do is follow the directions. So we'll say 1, enter the date. So then you'll click on this area and you'll type in the date. Then when you so we'll type it 05/27/2020, and then press enter, and then it will bring you to your next line, and you'll follow what it says in step 2, and it will take you to each part of the check. This is just to give you a little practice before you do it on your own. So go to your next step now. Go click on the link. It will bring you to this site and fill in this check. Try it a few times until you get the hang of it. Again, normally checks will always be written, but like I said, at least you could practice typing it for now. And I'll see you in a few minutes.